when I went to see the Royal Academy show.
Ah, good.
A long time ago, like 3 or 4 years ago.
Not ancient history, please. It's
No,
2019. That is 4 years ago. Yeah.
4 years ago, I've seen your show at the Royal Academy, and I was absolutely amazed. Until this time, I didn't saw a great bunch of your work, and suddenly I understood. And what I understood mainly is that you wanted to create lines in 3 dimensions.
Yeah, I mean, I think I want art to be a ground where we feel our own lives. I mean, putting myself in the position of the visitor, you could say, I want the work to be a ground where suddenly, by inference, you are in the picture, you know, and you sense your own, in a way, choice of movement, of thought, of feeling, the pressure of the planet pushing up against your feet. You become aware.
Physicality.
What?
The physicality.
Yeah, physicality. I'm not interested in representation of the body, but I'm interested in a way representing the body, but in which the body of the viewer becomes implicated in this field effect.
But me, I noticed all these lines, but in 3 dimensions.
Yeah.
It was a drawing in the air, a drawing in the space.
Yes.
And when you arrived at Musée Rodin, what was your aim? Because I didn't really feel the same way.
No, but I mean, the Musée Rodin it's a shrine to a great spirit and an amazing maker of bodies. And I think for me, this was an opportunity in a way to interrogate this place without wishing to destroy it, you know, like Anselm did with Tintoretto. You know, it's not a question of, it was an opportunity for a conversation and to think of our distinct positions, me thinking of the body as a place, as a location, as this kind of, the vessel of life, and him wanting to put the body to work. But in between, the thing we share is the acknowledgement of a sculpture as an object that has its own identity and has its own, in a way, ability to be a thing in the world, and can maybe be a thing in the world in ways that bodies are not. So this whole thing of starting with the line in which every work is in the position that it was molded in, and then immediately start turning them around or allowing them to find their position of rest. This is something that Rodin and I both do. We play around with the relation of the body to the earth. But at the same time, you know, he on one hand is, at the end of a long tradition of statue making, public art as the celebration of individual,
but also at the beginning of a new tradition, no?
Yes, which is what I'm most excited about in terms of Rodin, where he thinks of, you know, he thinks of the potential of art as being this kind of place of reproduction and production, in which everything can become raw material in an endless reassembly. And that's for me, you know, he was you could say he was, before Judd and Andre, he realized that the Taylorist principle of making, that almost the mass production was a very important thing to lay hold of as an artist. And I think that's also embedded in critical mass, the fact that you have these 12 body positions that are repeated 5 times, but constantly playing with how they sit in space.
I have to say, in the chapel, it's very striking, and the crescendo of the visitor, of the impression, is very strong. But
I like the way that you come in this passage, And the first work you see is banging its head against the wall. And in a way, this is, you know, this work is for me, it's an icon of our time. We have assimilated, or we have allowed our, in a way, bodies to be the carrier of the modernist principle. You could say the right angle, the orthogonal, the thing that determines our environment. And then to see it contradicted, you know, we have the square of the wall to the floor, and then we have the opposite, which is this kind of right angle, you know, bend at the wrist that then questions, you know, right from the beginning, this is the world we have made, but
what
that
does
has
it
also made us.
What does it mean?
I think it means it's a call to attention, the degree to which our choices are determined by the world that we have constructed around us, that we are more and more dependent on. And I think that you know, the degree to which we are all now embedded both in the urban grid, you know, we know that we passed 25 years ago, we passed the position where half of humankind was urban, and now we know that by 2075 it will be more like 80% of all human beings will be city bound. So that's one thing, and then we have the grid of our digital, you know, cyber world, and I'm saying we have to resist that. We are animals, we are creatures.
And that's what you say in your sculptures?
I think so. I think I'm saying we are intelligences and zones of feeling that are carried by a body that allows us to feel part of a wider world that perhaps we are continually separated from by all of the tools of domestic life, or the affordances of our city dwelling.
And you speak about suffering and death.
I think that for me, sculpture is as much about time as it is about space, and the notion that somehow these are like artificial, industrially made fossils that fix time, that fix the body in a particular position, but recognize our jeopardy, that we are very, very temporary in relation to geological time, in relation to, in a way, planetary sidereal time. That is also a very important part of my project.
And that's why you let mark on the sculpture.
I want the history of the work's making to be apparent on its surface. So you see where the iron has gone in, you see where it's been cut off, you see the seam all the way around the edge. You can see that this is a mold. These are like you know, the figures from Pompeii. They are in a way just very, you could say, generic indexes of the place that a body once was.
But Rodin did the same, huh?
Well, he did and he didn't. Yeah, he did and he didn't. I mean, that's why I thought it was very important in the first room in the Hotel Biemont. You have this dialogue between the Age of Bronze and bursts, this work that has no skin, but I think recognizes, I mean, for me, the Age of Bronze represents a massive change in the history of sculpture, where suddenly what it is made of becomes important because of the title. But then the loss of all attributes, you know, this was supposed to be a military kind of monument, a valedictory monument to the victor, but you get rid of the spear, you put one hand to the forehead, you close the eyes, and suddenly sculpture becomes a reflexive instrument. It's no longer heroic celebration of military valor, but something about, you know, what is a human being and what is a sculpture, and the two come together.
Yes, it's French. In French, we say l'âge d'airain.
D'airain, that means the age of copper or brass.
I don't know what is airain anyway.
D'airain, I think it's the age of bronze, isn't it? I mean, we divide, you know, you go Stone Age, Bronze Age, Iron Age.
Oh, okay.
Do you not, is not l'âge d'airain, does that not signify also a development in terms of human?
I only heard it with Rodin, in fact. I don't know.
But you recognize these stages, you know, the Neolithic is kind of
no more weapon.
It's Stone Age. Neolithic, well, I mean, Paleolithic to Neolithic is Stone Age. Then you have the Bronze Age. Then you have the Iron Age. Then you have the Industrial Age, and now we have the Cyber Age.
So, so your representation of the human being, of this archetypal human being, is a pretext to speak about a larger panorama.
Yeah, I think I'm trying to make a audit. I'm trying to say this is us now. We are in this interchange between the industrial and the information age, but we are still using completely medieval techniques of conflict resolution, you know, which is why we still have genocide and we still have what's going on. It doesn't matter whether it's in Syria or in.
But you are whispering. You are whispering.
Well, this is not a you know, a political protest. This is trying to make a truthful kind of summation of the human condition now. You know, we have, in the words of E.O. Wilson, we have Paleolithic emotions, medieval institutions, and godlike technology, and the combination of those things is highly unsettling.
Wow. And to come back to representation, why did you decide to represent only human being?
I think that the body is the thing that through which all our perceptions of the world come, and through which all our expressions out to the world also come. And I just wanted to think again about the body, not as a kind of great person or connected to a narrative or a myth, but just say, what is all of my sculptures are questions. What is a human being? What is a sculpture? How, in putting this thing in the world that hasn't been there before quite in this way, how does that change the world, and how does it change your feeling of being in the world?
And did participating to this show at Rodin Museum change something in your mind? Did you discover something about you or about Rodin?
I think that yeah, for me, the installation in the chapel is maybe the most clear and shocking kind of repositioning of the body as object, you might say. But the thing that enjoyed the most was the line that passes across the courtyard, through the hedge, across the rose gardens, across the pelouse, and ends up under the trees, but in relation to the gates of hell. The gates of hell is a meditation on the fall, on this very Christian idea of original sin and our kind of eventual falling. I have made the fall somehow physical and literal in the chapelle, but somehow this line that then relates to two things. One is the three shades on top of the gates, and then to my domain, this work that is there but almost not there. There is an object that is, yeah, the one on the top of the wall, which kind of gives this intimation of the fact that it isn't just about mass and space, that actually space and air is inside us as well as around us, that space and air are not things that separate us from each other, but actually connect us. So this I think for me, you know, in everything that is in the museum that concerns, in a way, the wish for sculpture to be there eternally, here is something that is very fragile, that rejects mass and reacts to light and exists in relation to distance and the blue of the sky. And I think that this work in its now position in relation to the gates and my inserted line, yeah, has a kind of, I guess it has a, yeah, maybe a sublime effect on everything we see there, that somehow we might feel some, yeah, some release, some joy in our ability to be in light and space as well as in time.
But I think the Gate of Hell is also a big exercise of ego, like La Boîte en Valise, which is a summary of the work of Duchamp. The Gate of Hell is a summary of his work.
We all need ego, don't we, Judith?
Yeah.
You know, people have criticized me as a narcissist. Well, I think you have to have a certain degree of narcissism. You have to have a certain degree of ego to think that you have anything to contribute to the world. And I mean, I think the Gates is an extraordinary, you know, well, very like for Michelangelo, the tomb of Julius became this kind of where he began, he had the means, an instrument to interrogate what sculpture could be. I think that's what the Gates became for Rodin. And in many ways, the Gates themselves are less interesting than what they produce generally. The thinker, the shades, the beautiful helmet maker's daughter, Ugolino, all of these incredible singular works that then he continually reassembled in new articulations. And I've learned a lot from that from Rodin. So
when did you learn that?
Well, I think actually quite recently, because as a student, I was obsessed with American art, you know, from the late 60s, and you know, I was very interested in Bruce Nauman, very interested in Carl Andre, and
Bruce Nauman, I said there's something about, I said to the curator, it made me think about Bruce Nauman. She said no.
Oh. Well, maybe she doesn't know so much about Bruce Nauman's 1968-69 works, where he's just testing the studio by, you know, walking the four walls or walking down a line.
Yeah. There was this show at in Venice about it recently.
Yeah, that was really beautiful. A contrapposto walk.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes,
But you know, so I rejected Rodin. He just said, this is something, you know, this is like, yeah, too much greasy bronze. But then it was actually as a result of well, meeting Sophie, who is the curator of the show, and going to Meudon and seeing these amazing trays of multiple hands and feet and arms, and just seeing the liberty with which he treated his own work as raw material. And this has had a profound effect. All of my recent works from the last 2 or 3 years have been trying to take works like the last work in the Biron, which is in the room with Iris, Messenger of the Gods, and taking 2 of them and trying to kind of fit them together. Anyway, I haven't got an example of it in this show, but the next show that I make in New York will be 3. It will be at White Cube, the new White Cube Gallery on Madison Avenue. Yeah, if you're in New York in May next year, maybe you can see it. But I'm very excited about this, and I have learned. I really have learned from Rodin's freedom.
So it's a new kind of gathering, accumulation of some...
Well, it's 2 works coming together, which I've always rejected. I mean, on the whole, I have always been singular bodies that act in relation to other bodies, but always at distance. And I've played with the idea of mitosis, the idea of a single thing becoming 2. But this is the first time that I've done, as a result of the lesson from Rodin, taken 2 already existing sculptures and crashed them together.
Wow.
So this isn't, I was thinking more about Brancusi and the Kiss before, with this idea of one thing becoming 2.
Yeah.
But now I'm making 2 things become 1, and this I learned entirely from Rodin.
So this is a very important show.
Well, yes, except that what I'm just telling you isn't in the show.
No, but to understand what we...
But in answer to your question, what have I learned by doing this show? This is what I have learned, but it won't be in the show.